What do you imagine when you look into the future? Hi there, I'm Dr. Carol, and we're talking about strategies to get through this season with less fear, less stress, less anxiety. We're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the risks are real. The fear in many, many people is real. It's not about denying those realities, but it's about making intentional choices to get through, to make it forward. And there are very real things that you and I can proactively, intentionally do. And the strategy I want to talk with you about today is keep the end in mind. Remember your future. Now, we don't know many details about what is going to happen with this pandemic. There are all kinds of predictions, and they change sometimes by the hour. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about holding on to a future that you know for sure. For Christians, we know the end of the story. The end of the story is not that thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, God forbid, millions of people die with COVID-19. That's not the end of the story. If you want to know the end of the story, look at the beginning and the end of Scripture. Our world is not right now as God would have it. He is not enjoying this. He is not pleased with this. Now, He can use it. But if you want to know what things are like when everything is as God would have it, look at the first 2 chapters of Genesis, the Garden of Eden. That is the way God made things to be. And of course, sin messed it up, and there's a lot of theological discussions about all of that, and that's not today's point. But the Garden of Eden is how things are on our world when they are as God would have them. And then the long process through all the rest of Scripture and our lives now until the end of Revelation. The last 2 chapters of the Bible, Revelation 20 and 21, are the promised restoration, the new heavens and a new earth, when everything is once again as God would have it. You and I don't have to worry about whether that will happen. We can be as absolutely sure that that will happen as I'm sitting here talking with you right now. It is not just something we hope for. It is something that is real, an anchor. And when you remember that, it helps put these other things in perspective. We're not talking about some nebulous, I hope I get to go to the store tomorrow and find some toilet paper. No, this is something you can bank on. You can know for absolutely certain that that is the end of the story. We as Christians know the end of the story. Spoiler alert, Jesus wins. When Jesus was here on earth, He had to keep that very same thing in mind. He could not keep His eyes focused on the things around Him. He had to keep His future in mind. And a passage I love, this is from Hebrews 12, verse 2. It says, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before Him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Jesus had to keep His eyes on His future in order to make it. And you and I will have to do the same. If Jesus, the Son of God, had to choose to put His attention on the promise that God had for Him for the future, you and I will not get through with doing anything less. We will have to do that as well. Now, sometimes that can be difficult when we're in the middle of a mess, when your kids are home from school and they're getting cabin fever, or maybe your income is down or gone. Maybe you or someone you know well has become ill. Right in the middle of that, it can be hard to keep your mind on the future. For the believer, remember that death is not the end. It is an enemy. Death is an enemy, but it is not the end. For the believer in Jesus, death is the entrance into eternity. Paul says that the last enemy will be destroyed, is that the last enemy to be destroyed is death. Yes, it is an enemy. I lost my husband. That grief is hard. But for you and I that know the end of the story, we don't have to focus on the here and now. Now, we need to take appropriate action in the here and now, but that is not the end of the story. And everything else that we are struggling with pales in comparison to the glory that will come. That's what Paul said in 2 Corinthians 4. For this light affliction. Light? You've lost your job. You're on lockdown. Whatever's going on with your world. Light affliction? Yes. For this light affliction, momentary affliction, light and momentary affliction, is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. When you keep your end in mind, that can be a powerful way in addressing the stress and fear and anxiety that our world is presenting to all of us on a daily basis. I do want to remind you again that that does not mean we deny reality. It means we have the rest of the truth. Your job loss is real. The quarantine you may be under is real. It is true. The stress with your kids home from school, that's real. The not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow with this pandemic is real. But look for the rest of the truth. Remember the end of the story. Remember the end of your story. And this is light and momentary affliction in comparison with what will come. I hope these strategies are helpful to you in walking day by day through our very tumultuous world right now. I pray that Jesus' presence is very close to your heart, that you accept his gift of peace, and that you walk forward day by day knowing what the true end result will be. And may God bless you.